Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Can It Take a K26, the show where we take a variety of blasters and see if they can be upgraded using a K26 spring. I am your host, Captain Xavier, and today we're going to be going over several of the Modulus attachment blasters. Our first contestant is the Blaster Stock. The Blaster Stock was originally released in 2015 as part of the Modulus line and was in the Strike and Defender upgrade kit. It is a fairly simple single shot prime from beneath blaster. The barrel is above the attachment, the stock attachment point, and of course it features a stock attachment point, so it can attach as a stock. There are some blasters that you can actually fire just over the top of the original blaster. Others you have to remove the stock before you can use the pistol. Kind of a neat idea. There's a couple of things I would have done differently, but what we want to know is, can it take a K26? Let's find out. Well, upon getting the blaster open, we can see that it is, it's a Jolt reshell. Oh, I hate myself. Okay, well, and an inefficient Jolt reshell at that, as it has this long neck of dead space and dead space there, and oh. And K26 would fit in the plunger tube, but I suspect we're going to have the same problem we had with the Jolt. It does at least have a removable plunger head. And yeah, there's no way K26 is going to fit into the plunger head, and it needs to because the spring has to compress up into the plunger head in order for you to get enough compression. So that is a no for the Blaster Stock. You could easily do any number of spring upgrades, of course. You could get a spring that nested inside of this one, or you could just find one that's stronger. If you really wanted a Blaster Stock that had a little bit more power. I don't really have any particular aspirations in that direction, so I'm just going to button it back up. Alright, that's a no for the same reasons that a Jolt can't. On to the next contestant. Our next contestant is the Stock Shot. The Stock Shot was released in 2017 as part of the Modulus system. It is independent, wasn't released in an upgrade pack or anything. And it is a 4-barreled Smart AR blaster that has this extendable stock attachment that allows you to attach it to any blaster that has a stock attachment point. Which is fairly nifty. The one downside is, while the stock appears to be adjustable, it kind of is, but it doesn't lock at each level, which would make it more useful. But it's fairly nice. It does have a really long draw, which is interesting. But we want to see if it can take the K26, so let's get her open. Okay. That is a much bigger plunger tube, probably to contend with the Smart AR system. That is many times bigger than the stock blaster's plunger tube. However, it does still require it to compress into the plunger head. Like I said, long draw, which is nice. Padded plunger head, which is nice. Well, I'm actually rather surprised. It can, in fact, K26 can fit, and K26 will catch. However, I do not have a full length of K26 available to me right now. Because I used it all up again and I'm waiting for more to arrive. And the section that I have in here is a little bit too short. As you can see, there's a bit of spring rattle. I rather suspect if it was any longer, it wouldn't be able to get enough compression. But I don't know that for sure because I don't have the right length. But let's see. Okay. So I am in fact getting complete compression with the spring I have in there. So if I put a longer spring in, because I could probably get at least 3 more coils in there, then it wouldn't be able to catch. So, yes, it'll take a K26, but not a full length of K26. I'm not sure what you could do to alleviate the spring rattle, which, if you don't mind it, it's fine. It actually doesn't rattle unless you push the plunger all the way in, because the plunger will stop there when you actually fire it. So, yeah, it's kind of up to you. I think it's pretty neat. I'm going to put the stock spring back in for now and call this a yes and move on to the final contestant. Alright, so that is a yes, but with a shorter than stock spring, resulting in spring rattle, but that's kind of a personal preference. On to the next contestant. Our final contestant is the Barrel Strike. The Barrel Strike was also released in 2017 as a standalone as part of the Modulus series, and it is also a 4-barrel AR blaster. Very long prime. I imagine the internals are going to prove to be identical as the stock shot, but it has a few other features. It is a barrel attachment instead of a stock attachment. It can lock onto the front, and then you've got a 4-shot AR blaster up front, or you can fold the barrel back and it becomes its own tiny little stock for a nice little Uzi looking thing. But what we want to know is, can it take a K26? Let's find out. Oh dear. Well, tragically, this one's actually a no. It will fit the same way that the stock shot did, but the trigger on this one doesn't want to release. You would probably need to upgrade that somehow, which this trigger mechanism is not conducive to modification. You would need to reinforce it somehow, maybe make a metal one, because there's too much flex right there, and so when it's caught with that much of a spring load, the trigger actually bends rather than releasing. So maybe if you did a metal spring or a metal trigger, you could get it to catch, which might be worth it, because this would make, I suspect, with K26 in there, this would probably make a fairly awesome shotgun pistol barrel attachment, which would be pretty slick, I think. But you'd need to find some way to reinforce that catch. But this thing has such a large plunger tube that if you put more spring, I actually wouldn't use K26 because, you know, the spring is too dense and it's not getting the full length. But if you could get a spring that was this long and this dimension but stronger, I think you could get enough power to take the ARs out and have a fairly decent 4-shot pistol, or possibly a 2-shot if you could figure out how to make it fire 2 at a time. Either way, I think it would make a much more useful attachment if it fired multiple rounds, just because that's kind of the point of an underbarrel attachment, is to provide a functionality that your main gun doesn't have, and firing 1 dart at a time isn't all that much more interesting or useful or versatile. But if you could get it to fire multiple shots at a time, like a rough cut, then you'd have something that actually added to your functionality. Alright, well that was a no because it won't release. It'll catch and it'll fit and all of that, but it won't release. You need a metal trigger. But that's tragic. Let's recap. Alright, for those of you keeping score at home or who just skipped to the end to see the results, that was a no for the blaster stock. That was a yes, fairly, for the stock shot. You end up with a shorter K26 and a little bit of spring rattle, but it will fit and catch and fire. That was a no for the barrel strike on account of it won't release because of too much tension. And just because it's part of the recap, that was a no for the grip blaster, but yes to a spring upgrade. Any of these can take a spring upgrade if you have the right spring, of course. It's just a matter of finding it. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, suggestions for future episodes, go ahead and put them in the comments below. And as always, Thank you for watching.